You have been found guilty.
Despite me enjoying low fuel motorsports, and I do think it's well worth signing up to, and they've done a fantastic job with the service, it's worth you guys being aware that it's very easy to get a ban on this service, and that ban will get rid of your rating and reset your safety rating to 0, effectively getting rid of anything that you've done previously, then making it very hard to get back into to race similar skilled people. Now, the footage you're seeing is what resulted in me getting a instant 1-month ban from the service. And as I say, my safety rating and skill rating all being completely reset. So, to display the evidence and go through what happened, I am the gold car in front of the green car, because gold is the fastest material you can put on a vehicle. The green car here accidentally goes too fast into the corner and pins me in the door, firing me off the track. It happens. You know, I was annoyed at the time that he drove into me, but it's pretty common in sim racing. Very kindly, the green car pulls over to let me go past, and I'm having none of it. I want him to be in front of me to feel bad about spinning me, and also because he was kind enough to pull over, and I'm used to people just driving off, so I wanted to make a thing out of it and have him still be in front. As you can see, I also pull over there, so he does end up in front of us eventually when he realises that's what we were trying to do. Now, there's a link to the Twitch where you can watch this from our perspective. We were obviously live streaming this at the time and talking whilst driving. And at the time, literally nobody watching the stream was like, oh, that's a bannable offence or that's a problem. And I was totally unaware as well. In fact, I thought it was a genuine funny situation. Guy accidentally drives into us, then is really kind and gives the place back. That's rare to happen, and from my perspective, it's then funny to have them go in front, you know. It balances out the force in the universe. And not that it's excuses anything, but let's also consider that I'm in 18th and this guy's in 19th place. You know, we're both out of the race, let's be honest. But that is arguably irrelevant to the actual situation, so we can put that to one side. I just thought that was amusing as well. Now, after he pulls over, we do bump into him multiple times. And at the time, I thought, I watched this when I first got the complaint. And I was like, oh, no, maybe I was trying to push him out of the way. You know, fair enough, that's pretty bad. But then I watched the replay again, and I watched the replay from our perspective. I was like, actually, no, I wasn't trying to drive into him. I was trying to stop behind him. He was getting on his brakes, and there's that sort of that kind of lagginess to the braking, and as a result we have a few gentle taps. You can even hear in the live stream that I say, what are you doing, because I'm confused by the fact that he's not moving, and thus we're having the contact. So I wasn't even trying to hit into him, though I did hit into him, and in fairness I can totally see from his perspective that it looks like me trying to knock into him on purpose to get revenge. So I understand that, it's fair enough. I didn't know at the time that you actually lose safety rating for those types of contacts, and if you do know that you lose the safety rating for that tiny contact, why would I drive into him for revenge? Because we'd both be losing safety rating. It just wouldn't make any sense. But we did hit into him when he'd pulled over. He was trying to be nice and safe, and I can understand from his perspective that he could see it as you know, a vendetta or something. And fair enough, there was a vendetta, but not in the way that he thought it. But, you know, we drove into him, we made contact. I do take guilt for that. I shouldn't have driven behind him. I should have had enough space, and if I was going to pull over behind him, I should have stopped sooner, or I should have just driven on regardless. And just because I'm streaming and trying to be entertaining in a stream, you know, or there's something humorous, that doesn't excuse doing something stupid in a race that might affect other people. So that's fair enough. He's got a totally valid complaint, I would say. Here's the report of the complaint with the ban, with the explanation for what it is. So the penalty is for suspended for 28 days, safety rating and rating reset to 2.0, and the steward's decision is intentionally causing a collision. Well, first of all, we've established it wasn't intentional, but I could see how it could look intentional. So let's say it was intentional. That is a very mild collision, and well, relative to the amount of collisions we've had elsewhere in LFM from people ramming us off the track or whatever, or just stuff that happens in sim racing, overly aggressive driving, even my overly aggressive driving and other things I've done which are not intentional but you could easily frame as being intentional, and definite stuff of people intentionally ramming me, it seems to me to be very, very disproportionate. But that's fine. It's LFM's service and they can do whatever they want. I haven't actually subscribed to them on Patreon, so I've not paid them any money. And even if I had paid them money, that's pretty much irrelevant. It's their house, it's their rules. You have to play by their rules. But I think it's good for you guys to just be aware that they are running a Victorian schoolhouse. So if you do anything that they deem wrong or is framed as wrong or even is actually wrong, be prepared to be executed at dawn. Now, I would say, in fairness to LFM on their side, it's very hard to moderate this type of service and do it efficiently in a way that doesn't take up too much time. If you've ever run like even league racing, you'll get a lot of people complaining and all these other things, and so you kind of do have to have very defined rules that sometimes won't play out fairly, sometimes will play out fairly, and it's important for this type of service to in some ways be quite strict to make people then behave better. So I understand the difficulty and complexity of doing these things, and I also actually would say, weirdly, it can add value to the service. Like, especially this example now, you guys see this, you'll be like, oh man, you have to be well careful in LFM, and that might make it more tense and more realistic for some of you. For others, it might make you think, well, that's a bit ridiculous. I really don't want to invest so much time and get my ranking up if it can just be taken away fairly, unfairly, or entirely arbitrarily. Also keep in mind, there's bigger events on this that people would prepare for. So a ban for a month or resetting your rating, well, that would be very harsh. And actually, for streamers, that could even have financial impact. Bizarrely, again, I don't think that's not Low Fuel Motorsport's responsibility, but they're all things that you should keep in mind if you are taking part on any of these services. It could be anything. To be clear as well, don't have a go at the guy that reported me. He was actually driving really safely and being super duper kind. Far too kind for sim racing. I have no beef with him at all. And also, when it comes to LFM, if you agree or disagree with their decision, don't be attacking them in any way. Be kind to people. Life's too short. And I also still would recommend LFM to a lot of people regardless. Fact of the matter is, I am guilty. I've always been guilty. I just normally when I'm guilty, I come away with a chopped off wrist rather than the full beheading. I do actually think this whole sort of rule application, how you apply rules, what's fair, what's not fair, and how this applies to sim racing and even things like VAT sim and all these things, mil sim titles and what's right or wrong. It's quite an interesting conversation. So let me know what you guys think in the chat. Really appreciate you all watching it. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for all the channel members. Thanks to everyone that hate views. Until the next one, happy tea drinking. And maybe I'll see you after my LFM holiday. We might have to play some original AC. LFM needs to add original AC to LFM once my ban is finished. Till the next one. Cheers, guys. Goodbye.